Welcome to Climate Crossroads, San Diego. My name is Walt, and I am your host. This podcast will be addressing an article that appeared in SFGate, and the subtopics to be covered are shown to the right. Since your time is valuable, let's just jump into the topic. I will read some excerpts from the article to get us started and to bring you up to speed on this issue. For years, California has pushed its residents to install solar panels on their homes with generous payments and tax breaks to boost the spread of the environmentally friendly tech. Hundreds of thousands of people bought in. But amid sky-high electricity rates, the state government is turning those residents into something of a scapegoat. California regulators, analysts, and even Governor Gavin Newsom have recently blamed popular solar incentive programs for saddling other ratepayers with higher energy bills. A state ratepayers advocacy office argued in a December report that solar owners are being compensated too much for their panels' excess energy and aren't paying their fair share of the grid's cost. Solar's advocates flatly deny those contentions. Dave Rosenfeld, executive director of the Solar Rights Alliance, told SFGate that officials' arguments are based on lies and that they're scapegoating solar owners as a convenient villain. So that's where the lines have been drawn in this argument. I'm glad the article has pointed out this conflict at the CPUC, however. I'm going to address this issue differently, from an economic point of view. This debate is ludicrous and the worst kind of gaslighting typical of Washington, D.C. I will explain why. In the interest of full disclosure, this is my solar array. We had this installed back in 2015. The installation took advantage of the solar incentives the government was offering. To do this, we took out a 20-year lease with SunPower. The monthly lease payments are $165.86 a month. So I'm not exploiting homes without solar. Here's why this fair share of grid costs is ridiculous. Essentially, the excess energy I generate and get some credit for is sent to my neighbors next door or across the street. The credit on my electric bill is just a small fraction of what I pay each month on my lease. SDG&E gets to sell the electricity generated on our solar panels at their full price to my neighbors automatically. No extra effort by SDG&E is required. Frankly, this fairness issue is a manufactured distraction created to make it seem that California is fighting for the little guy. Anyone who believes this grid fairness issue, contact me. I have a bridge to sell you. But first, let's remember why we are talking about NEM rules in the first place. Climate change. We are living in a time when the human race is changing the climate by dumping carbon dioxide, methane, and other greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. In 4 or 5 years, we will have exceeded the budget for carbon dioxide to give us a 50% chance of holding global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. We should be doing everything we can. All of us, the whole world. This should be our priority, our North Star. So let me show you why this discussion of grid fairness is so ludicrous. What you see is a screenshot from a chart which can be found on the website of Sacramento Municipal Utility District. It's kind of hard to see what's going on here, so I copied the data to create an Excel column chart. Same data. Next, we need some benchmarks to compare with our California utilities. Here's the national average rate for electricity. The highest state average rate is in Hawaii, so let's add that to our chart. Finally, here is the California average electric rate. All of these benchmarks are from internet searches. So first, let's look at our investor-owned utilities and how they compare with our benchmarks. They're represented by the red columns and the benchmarks are in blue. First of all, our profit utilities are over double the national average, and two of these utilities are at or above the average for Hawaii. Hawaii, of course, is an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which probably explains why they have the highest average state rate for electricity. This chart shows the 48 contiguous states, leaving out Hawaii and Alaska. California has the highest average rates as shown by the green column on the left, but these are averages, so they conceal the real reason for California's high rates. Now let's add the electric rates for the publicly owned utilities. Even the highest rate for a publicly owned utility included on the chart, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, is significantly less expensive than the three investor-owned utilities. It's safe to say that the investor-owned electric rates can be considered extreme and at the far end of the electric rate spectrum. The IOUs are not competitive because the rates reflect monopoly pricing. Given that these IOU rates are so extreme, it doesn't make sense to imply that there is no room to lower electric rates. Other utilities across the country operate year after year at much lower rates. So the premise that the residences or businesses with solar panels are responsible for the high IOU rates is complete nonsense. But California's situation is even worse than that. I think a very good case can be made that the IOU electric rates are inflationary. The reason is that we use electricity in modern life everywhere. Not only do we pay these extreme rates for our residential electricity, but it is a cost component included in every service or thing that we buy, particularly when a comparison is made to the national average. Here's a real-life example. Fresh water is pumped from Poway up about 1,000 feet in elevation to Ramona. They also pump water around the Ramona Water District to supply our residences, businesses, and farms. The Water District spends about $1.8 million on energy for the water system. $1.3 million is just to pump it up from Poway. An additional $500,000 in distribution once it's up the hill. The $500,000 is all electric. The $1.3 million is 40% natural gas and 60% electric. The bottom line is everyone in Ramona pays over double the national average for electricity needed to pump our water. This is inflationary, not just for the electricity component of the cost, but also the impact on the cost of water to residents. Essentially, both of these inflated costs for basic essential services ripple through the entire local economy, driving up the cost of living. In the interest of keeping this podcast to a reasonable length, I'm going to close by adding that next week's episode of Climate Crossroads San Diego will explain how these high investor-owned utility rates are impacting the fight against climate change. Thank you for watching, and remember to tune in next week.
Here comes the sun.